to be able to introduce the 22nd Police Chief for the city of Fresno. Fresno Police Chief Andy Hall. Wow. I'm going to have the city manager and the mayor, please, if you would step over here and present Andy's badge to him. And then I'm going to have Jeannie come forward and to pin that badge on Andy. And then once that is done, I believe we're going to have Yvonne Spence, our city clerk, be able to do the oath. See all those cameras, Andy? You can have them all. On the way over here, Andy told me, he goes, man, I can already feel the weight of this job. And I said, don't worry, it only gets heavier. At this time, Jeannie, if you would please come forward. You know, we say in law enforcement, we say in the Fresno Police Department, we have for many years. And you guys can all be seated. We say in the Fresno Police Department, and I didn't coin this, but Ed Winchester did, the former police chief, that although it is the officer who wears the badge, it is the family who carries the weight of that badge and the burden that goes with it. And there is an incredible amount of burden that goes with it, all the way up the organization. And the higher up you get, the more weight it carries. Stick 'em. Jeannie, stay up here, please. Stay up here. When this oath is given, you're going to be a part of this. So please, Yvonne, please stand up. Administer the oath of office.
I'll read the oath of office, and when I'm finished, if you could please respond with I do or I will. Okay? Raise your right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do. Thank you.
Okay, I believe it's appropriate at this time to have the city manager and the mayor take a seat, Jeannie, and turn this podium over to our new police chief, Andy Hall.
Well, I'm going to take my hat off because my head doesn't get as cold as the previous chief. I keep hearing about I have to fill these large shoes. I keep hearing about these large shoes I have to fill. And so last night I was late, and it was about 8:30, and Rick and I were finishing up in the office, and Rick had left, and I snuck back into the headquarters, and I got back into the locker room, and I got into Jerry's locker, and I tried on his shoes. And I got to tell you, they were a little tight. You know, one of the hardest things about today for me, and I'll probably get a little emotional, is that my dad isn't alive to be here. He died when I was 26 years old, and he barely knew my children, barely got to meet them, and didn't get to meet his grandchildren. And as you go through the years, you have milestones in your life, and you think about the ones you lost, and they're not here. But I think my dad would have been pretty proud to be here. So. People say that I got my leadership skills from my father, and I believe that. And they say that I got my compassion from my mom. I think a lot of people would say you should have tried a little harder, Mom. But I thank you. I thank you for that. I want to introduce a few people in the room that are very special to me. It's not you, Jerry. But I'd like to start with my wife, Jeannie, who you met at the badge pinning. She's been my partner for 35 years. We've known each other for almost 40, 41. I had to ask how long we've been married when I sat next to her today. But she's always been there for me. She has been there for the good times and the bad. But she's always been by my side. She's probably the best person that I know. And I do love you, and I love you more now than I did when we got married. And I know when I get home, she's going to say, you didn't love me when we got married, but I do, and I do thank you for all your support. My daughter, my firstborn, Samantha Hall, she's back over there. You ready to raise your hand? She leave with the kid. Her husband, Miles Paisno, who's a Southeast police officer who will probably be going back to midnights if he doesn't treat me right. They have firstborn grandson, Logan, who's right here. He's my best friend. Yeah. He knows 50 words, and he said them all today. He's the apple of my eye. Got a brand new granddaughter, 12 days old. So we're pretty excited about that. Her name is Ada. My son, Kenny Hall, he's a police officer in Madera. And he didn't want to work for me either. I'm pretty proud of him, and he's doing really well over there. I'm very proud of my son. And his wife, Amanda, who's going to have her first baby in January. So my third grandchild. We don't know what that is yet. My brother, Jim Hall. I've always looked up to him. He's always been my friend. He taught me how to defend myself, mostly because I had to. But it came in handy in later years, I got to tell you. His wife, Amy, and their daughter, Madeline, and her husband, Sean. Thank you for being here. They also brought their child, Olin, who's a handful. And they have another one on the way next month. I believe my brother-in-law, Jimmy Turner, is here. Thank you for coming. He's from out of town. A.J. Forrestier, who's a police officer in Madera. My nephew, Joe Forrestier, and his wife, Jennifer. I'd like to introduce my mom. She's waiting. She's already given me the eye. My mom has always been the rock of the family. She's always held us together, even when we didn't want to be. So she's the one that comes. She's the one that comes in between us and kind of brings everything together. So I appreciate that. Her husband Dennis, And then I believe my Aunt Norma over there, she's reckless. You know, when they announced the position for the next chief, most of you know I didn't apply. And I told everybody that you don't want to be the chief after Chief Jerry Dyer. You don't want to be that chief. You want to be the chief after Jerry Dyer. Well, here I am, the chief after Jerry Dyer. Jerry's an amazing leader. He's just an amazing guy. It's really hard for me to imagine. I sit in his office, and I still call it his office, even though I had to get the sheriff's department to evict him. But as I sit in his office, I just can't imagine him not being at the helm. It's so difficult for me to not think of you as being our chief. So I'm going to have to work through that. You know, he's worked tirelessly for this organization and this city throughout his 18 years in law enforcement, and he's dedicated his life to this community. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being an amazing friend, and I mean that. I want to thank you for your confidence in me, and I want to assure you that I'll do everything I can not to disappoint you. Mayor, and his Chief of Staff, Tim Orman, I want to thank you for all your advice and your support as I transition to the new chief's position. You've been very supportive, and you've given me a lot of advice that I appreciate. I would also like to thank my new boss, City Manager Wilma Kwan, for her confidence and trust. She's always calling me. She checks on me a lot, almost like my mom, if I'm doing okay. Are you doing okay today? You doing okay today? But she's so supportive, and I so appreciate her advice and confidence in me. And I too love this city, like Jerry was indicating. I love this police department, especially love my motors. I've served in this community since I was 18 years old, right out of high school. I've lived in this organization. This is my family. And I truly believe this is one of the finest police departments in the entire nation. And I'm so proud to lead it. This department is made up of dedicated men and women who give their very best every day to keep our citizens safe. You know, when Jerry was reading my bio, I always cringe at that, and I'm always a little embarrassed by all those accomplishments.